All right. Hey, Joy. It's good to see you again. It's been a long time.
It's great to see you too, Daniel. I'm excited to chat for a bit here.
Yes. So, about a week ago or so, I saw on your Instagram that you and Amy from Piano Pantry are doing this workshop on Notion. And it's one of those programs I've always had a passing interest in because I've been an Evernote user for a long, long time. And I thought, man, I need to reach out to Joy and see what this is all about. And then conversation happened. We're old conference buddies. Like we've been to a lot of conferences together, the national conference, Indiana conference, and and then you suggested, hey, let's just have a conversation and let's look at your Evernote and see if Notion would work for you. So I'm ready to be convinced. I think.
Yay, that's great. I'm really passionate about Notion, and I do hope I can talk you into trying it out at least and seeing
Yeah.
what you think of it.
So I know you've been talking about it for a while. I know that you and Amy have talked about it. I think on her podcast. You've published things on Color in My Piano. Um, but since I have not been a Notion user and I'm not talking about it on my podcast, maybe it would be good for the folks who follow me if like you explain what Notion is. I think that's actually a really good place to start.
Absolutely. Yeah, sure. So Notion is a program which you can access, on your computer. There's an app for your phone or your iPad. You can also simply go to the website for Notion and just log into your account, from any browser, any place, and just log into your account. And you can think of it as kind of like a note-taking app, although it does so much more, as we'll see as we get into
Hmm.
it. But the folks behind Notion like to describe it as like learning Legos, because once you know kind of the basic building blocks and how to create and build your
Hmm.
pages in Notion, you can create pages that do whatever you want them to do, like whatever you can dream up. And we'll get into some examples soon, but it's really cool just like how powerful Notion is. And you could just like build these pages that do a very simple thing, or a page that brings a lot of different aspects of a certain project or an event you're planning or whatever life area it is, into like one page.
Hmm. Okay. I'm intrigued.
I would love to hear about you on Evernote first, if you don't mind. I think just because Evernote it
Interesting.
came first, and I think a lot of people are familiar with Evernote. If you don't mind, I'd love to hear how you're
Okay.
using Evernote currently.
So are you familiar with Getting Things Done by David Allen?
I am, yes.
Okay. So I discovered GTD just out of college. And I started using that even though I really didn't have a lot going on in my life at the time, but I thought, oh, I want to be organized. So I started using it, but as my studio grew, as my life got busier, as I started building other businesses, doing Piano Express, like all that sort of thing, I found that the Getting Things Done system was actually really helpful in keeping me organized. And then late 2000s, early 2010s, I found someone had published to YouTube a free set of videos of how they turned Evernote into the Getting Things Done system.
Mm.
And I
Hmm.
watched these videos over and over because I'd been using GTD for over 5 years at that point. And in 2011, I set up my folder system in Evernote, and I kid you not, I've pretty much used that same folder system for the last 13 years. I've
Okay.
changed things around from time to time. I've added folders in, obviously, as my life changed and got different. Um, so I don't know. Should I share my screen and kind of show my folder system?
I would love to see. So it sounds
Okay.
like you're using it as kind of like a task management system.
Yes,
Hmm.
which it's not designed to do. It's not designed to be task management. But
Hmm.
what I love about Evernote that I think with getting things done, I what's more important is what you do with all the data and all the things that come into your life. And what I find to actually be less important is having a task list. Like I actually do have a task list, but that to me is the most important part of the system. It's what do you do with all of the inputs in your life. And so
Right.
to me, using a system like Evernote that's designed to collect information and then retrofitting a task system on top of it is actually better than trying to use a program like Asana or ClickUp, which is designed to be like, you know, check this off when you get done with it, but it's terrible at keeping track of data or collecting data. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So let me just show you what my notebooks look like. These are my folders here on the side. So I've put these little @ signs here because these are kind of the standard David Allen folders: attention, waiting for, like that sort of thing. I have my own custom folders that are really important that I want to keep track of. So like lead follow-ups, long-term lead follow-ups, my personal folder, material that's supporting current projects I'm working on. Waiting for is a standard David Allen folder. Conversations, these are, it doesn't matter. Anyway, then I have stuff around my online businesses. So the podcast, here's another one for the podcast. A folder that I started in 2015 around Grow Your Music Studio, different products. My long-term folder, commitments, good ideas that will never happen, personal reference, productivity archive, reading archive, reference, like that sort of thing. I have a reading folder. This is just articles I found that I want to read, and I delete them as I read them.
Mm-hmm.
I've got my Sketch screenshot tool hooked up to here because I want to delegate to my team, and then my whole tag system. So that's kind of how I'm using Evernote. Do you have specific questions, or I'm curious?
I think this is a pretty good overview of like how you're using it. So I'm
Sure.
just curious. I did use Evernote some myself before I got into Notion. I can't say I was a heavy user of it, but I definitely used it as a place to keep track of certain things and, like you said, store information relating to certain things. So I'm really intrigued that you've been using it for the getting things done system, and that's really
Mm.
cool. So, and I know you can't easily just show me things because you've got private and sensitive things that you're storing
Oh,
in there relating to your clients and work, and of course.
right.
But I would love to just hear a little bit. Can you describe then how it works? Then I don't know, with the different folders and then
Sure.
the kinds of notes you said.
Evernote has a default folder. You know this, I know, but I'm saying it
Yes.
for the benefit of anyone who might be listening who doesn't know that. So anytime I email something into Evernote or clip it or add it through some API externally, it goes to my folder, and that is my central collection bucket. So David Allen says you have to have an inbox. If you don't have one, your whole life is your inbox, and then you go crazy. And with the amount of like my life is like 10 times more complicated than it was when I started Grow. And my team is like much bigger than it was. So I have a lot of inputs coming at me. So I have this folder and then I sort from there. Some things I'll just do immediately, but in general, things are either data that needs to be captured and I'll just put it, like most of these folders just collect information to be found later if needed. The main folders I operate out of are just a handful: the attention folder, my support folder, my waiting for folder. That's pretty much it. I have my client folders and I do go in and out of there, but that's not what I'm doing actions from. That's where I'm just keeping notes on clients. So even clients I had 8 years ago, I still have a note on them. Because you never know. I literally had last summer, I had a client who I'd worked with in 2017 reach out to me again. Hadn't heard from this person in a while, and they were in a completely different stage of their business. And they're like, "I need to work with you again." And I went in and I used the search function, typed their name, came right up. Hadn't added anything to it since 2017, but we picked right back up from there. And I had all these notes from before. It was fantastic. That's kind of how I use that. I do use like the Seven Figure Music School folder a lot because I keep all my podcast outlines in there, either podcast ideas or outlines for ones we're getting ready to do, or the old outlines. But again, that's more of a collection of information. I'm not really acting on that except when I'm actually doing the podcast. So does that answer your question, or do you want more detail?
Yeah, no, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, you threw a curveball at me here, Daniel, by telling me now that you use Evernote for getting things done, like system. I wasn't expecting that, but still, I'm still
Okay.
hoping that I can talk you into using Notion for certain
Okay, well
aspects
then
of what you
let
do.
me add one more thing then. Let me add one more thing.
Yeah,
Because
go
I
ahead.
am using most of these folders the way Evernote was designed to be used, which is primarily capturing articles, or I have my Evernote email address set up. So I am constantly forwarding emails from my email address into Evernote to capture information. Um, I'm clipping screenshots into there. I have shared some folders with a team member and she gets into there. So there's folders I've shared with her, and she has recurring tasks to go in and check for new information in those folders and to do things with it, like add this to this testimonial thing, take this screenshot, put it over here. If something is in this folder, it means you need to do this with it, like stuff like that. So I am kind of using it in a traditional way too, which Evernote was more designed to be like a information repository.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess I can dive in and show you some things about
Okay.
Notion. I'll show you my own Notion pages, and maybe
Oof.
along the way I can kind of describe a little bit like how I could picture you potentially using Notion should you want to.
Yeah.
Hopefully you'll like it.
And I will say, like right before you jump into this, part of the reason that we're meeting is because you do have this workshop coming up on, what is it, the 20th and 21st of September?
Yes, that's right.
That's what initially caught my attention about this. And then I actually listened to Amy's entire podcast episode. I think it was episode 105 of the Piano Pantry podcast. Just listening, because I'm always kind of fascinated by tools, but then again, I'm deeply embed 13 years deep in this system, so it's like but it seems so cool.
Right.
So anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up because I know you're doing that workshop, and if people have interest, I think they should definitely check it out. And on the description of this video, we'll put the link to your Notion page that kind of describes what the workshop is, because I have plenty of clients who need to get more organized and they're not using a system at all, and so maybe if they just start with Notion, that would be really good for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. I will definitely show you some pages for anyone running a music studio. I think there's a
Mm,
lot of really cool things you can do. So I'll include examples for that for sure.
cool.
Okay, so let me see if I can share my screen here. Okay. So you are looking at one
Whoa.
of my main Notion pages here. This is what I call my dashboard. This is a page that I created myself. Now, Notion is a series of pages that you can organize as you'd like to, and then therefore you end up with sub pages. I think I'll show you the music studio things first. I think that might be the most applicable to your audience and my audience. So I have an area on my dashboard here that's related to some of my piano studio type things. And then after a while, I started getting a lot of subpages that relate to this life area of piano studio. So I made a further
Mm.
dashboard here for other things. So there's some like quick links, like just things that I might need. And then I just have pages devoted to different like areas of running my music studio. So the first thing I'll show you is my students page. So this is, these are my piano students. And I have this, it looks a bit like a spreadsheet. I'm sure your listeners are familiar with spreadsheets. This
Oh,
is actually
sure.
a database. Uh, and I have this particular database connected to a form. You can connect to Google Forms. I prefer using a website called Tally for my forms. It's a really beautiful looking forms
Hmm.
uh, service. And anyway, so when my students come to my studio, I hand them my iPad with the form pulled up for the parent to fill out. They fill out the form, and then boom, it's automatically in my database here for my students. Like spreadsheets or like a database, these are all properties in the database that are set to accept certain types of information, such as a date, for example. I have this column acting as a formula to calculate the student's current age based on their birthday, which is a different column. First name, last name. I have other columns that I can update. I also have a column here that is a status for if this is an active student of mine, or if I have a student that discontinues lessons, then I change this to inactive. And then I have a sort going on here, or like a filter going on that's currently right now showing me my active students. And I have other views set up in the database so I could view all my inactive students, let's say, or I can sort by all different kinds of ways.
So when you
Mhm.
built that, what is the advantage to you building that here in Notion as opposed to, let's say, like just creating a spreadsheet in Google Sheets, which I'm not being oppositional. There's
Mhm.
obviously a reason you're doing it. I don't understand it. You know what I mean? So, like, I
Yeah.
want to hear it from your perspective.
Okay, I think there's a variety of different reasons. I'll throw off a few quick things. First of all, one of the most beautiful things about Notion is that it can bring so many different areas of your life into one place. So when I need to get work done, I'm usually working out of Notion, and I don't have to go search out
Mm.
something in my Google Drive somewhere. Plus, be looking at this that might over be like in Evernote, or this might be in Microsoft Word, or this is
Hmm.
Google Doc or whatever. You can pull things into one place, and so you can actually have the pages talk to each other. You can have links and shortcuts. You can have things kind of connected. And once you have the information in this database in Notion, it's so powerful. Like what you can do with it, you can display the information in a lot of different ways. You can like call it up again on other pages because the database is just in there in the system.
But you've created your student database here, and then let's say, and I mean, knowing nothing, I'm guessing though this will be accurate. Like, let's say that you want to build a list of people that are going to participate in the RCM exams this year, and that's a separate page that you have. You would there be value in connecting like this with that page, or like you're following the student around on different pages on Notion? Is this am I hitting close to home?
You can definitely, yeah, you are already, if you understand how databases work, then yes, there's a lot of fancy, powerful things like that that you can do.
Okay,
Absolutely.
interesting. Well, let me ask another question.
Yeah.
Joy, on a scale of 1 to 10 with like tech savviness, with one being, you know, you don't even know how to turn on a VCR, and 10 being like you can program something for Google, like where would you put yourself on that scale? The point of this question being like people might see this and think, oh man, Joy must be a genius at this stuff. I could never be like that. Like I'm curious how you would rate yourself so that people can see like this how easy or hard this is. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't exactly know how to code or anything
Okay.
like that. I mean, I know some really, really rudimentary like HTML.
Yeah.
I have just over time learned a lot about databases, at least in Notion.
Okay.
I can't maybe do. Doesn't Microsoft have a program for building databases?
I think they
Um,
do. Isn't it SQL or something? I don't know.
I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
I have not done that before. Would
Okay.
some of the skills translate? Probably, but I don't know. So I'm not totally sure where to rate myself on that scale, but maybe like a 7, maybe being really optimistic an 8, but
Okay.
probably
Okay.
7. Yeah,
Interesting.
depending on exactly what skills or like projects you're talking about for a 10. But
When
I'm pretty
you
comfortable
start,
with technology. Yeah.
okay. When you started using this, though, you probably weren't, you obviously didn't start by building the entire dashboard. You probably started with one thing, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. You start really simple. And I actually feel a little bad that we've gotten into databases already so early in the
Oh, no.
conversation,
Oh, no.
because
No.
I think for anyone new in Notion, you will start with simple pages first. And over time, you can start using the database feature. Now, I mean, that said, the databases, yes, it can be really powerful. And Daniel was already like getting ahead and realizing how you could like connect things up in different ways. But I mean, at its most basic use, you could just use a database exactly like you would do a spreadsheet.
Mm.
So if you can
Okay.
do a spreadsheet, you can probably do a database, and then over time, if you want to learn some of the fancy stuff, you can pick up on it. I mean, I just watched YouTube tutorials. I did a lot of experimenting. I just kind of figured like if I can dream up, like if I can envision or think that something might be possible, then I just Google until I can figure out how to make it, how to build it, I guess. So it's just kind of
Okay.
a fun, almost like a hobby thing for me. But
Nice.
um, anyway, so yeah, I mean, Notion to me is so valuable, whether you're consider yourself more of a basic user of it, or if you want to go all in and like kind of learn, and get a little bit nerdy with it and learn
Love
databases
it.
real quick. Anywhere on the
Okay,
spectrum,
cool.
is great. So,
Nice.
all right, so let's move on to see what else. So I showed you my students page, and that info gets pulled in from a form, like an online form, which is really great. I also have a form on my studio website for inquiries. So this is kind of a fun one. So again, it's a tally form. I can actually probably click to this and show you, although that will open a different window. So I'd have to switch to sharing a different window. So I guess I won't. But it's just a form. And then the information gets pulled into this database that you can see here. It tells
Wow.
me the date and who the person is and whatever the inquiry was, whatever they typed up. And then I've added these other properties, these other columns for me to kind of track. what tasks need to happen, what do I need to do, and where am I at with this person? Did I follow up?
Mm.
Did we meet in person? Did they sign up? Did they say they weren't interested? Like what was the result? So you can I've not fully set this page up. My studio is full right now, and I'm not really taking on students right now. But you can set up a status, and I don't know, just so it's a great way to track
Yes.
where you're at
You're
with
talking my language.
yeah. I thought you might like this one. Let's see what else. So recital and event planning for a studio. So this is another page that I've built for planning recitals, events. So this, what you're seeing here, is also a database. It's just set up as a different view. Now, Daniel, are you familiar with Kanban boards?
I
So like
am. I
Trello?
was wondering if that's what this was.
Yeah, this is a Kanban board. So it's the same information coming from the database, but it's just that I've chosen a view. I've set up these views across the top as a few different ways. So I could choose the alphabetical one. So these are past recitals and events that I've organized,
Wow.
displaying alphabetically. I can also display them chronologically. So now it's sorting by the date chronologically. And then this one is a
Wow.
Kanban board that shows, I set up each Kanban board to show the school year that the events. So I can see coming up ahead in this school year, I've got these 4 recital events kind of planned for this next year. And then last year, here's a couple of events that I've held. Previous years, we're kind of getting into the COVID year, so I haven't been super consistent with public events for my students. We did video projects instead. But let me open up one of these. So each one of these entries in the database is also technically a page. Everything in Notion is kind of a page. So if I click on one of these, it opens up the page on this side
Wow.
view. I can also fully open this up as just a full page. But this is where I kept track of the venue event, the venue information. I also started putting in the students' repertoire that they're going to play on the recital, and just any notes like that. So then it makes it easier to go and make my recital program when it's time for that.
Mm.
So that's an example of this recital planning page. And I have lots of other random things down here below. I have a list of other venues that I've used in the past, or other ideas that I want to consider doing in the future. It can just be kind of a information storage like you would do in Evernote,
Yeah.
just
Oh, at the workshop you're doing, you're showing people how to build all this stuff, right?
yeah, we're teaching them how to it's like Legos. So we'll teach you how to use the Legos so that you can build your own things. And Amy and I have also prepared a bunch of templates that come with the workshop as well. And so this is one of the
Interesting.
templates that I've included, and Amy's got ones that she has built and has included as well, that you would get as well when you sign up for
That's
the workshop.
cool. And to the
Mhm.
point that it's just saving people time. You're going to show them how to use this, but it's saving them time for managing your studio or your school. So that makes total sense.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So I think that's probably good for the piano studio area. I've got other pages, yeah, just for tracking different things, or just planning summer camps is another good one. You can have pages to just keep track of summer camps you've done in the past and what you're planning in the future. There's lots of other ways to use it. One of our past attendees showed me a beautiful page where she set up email templates. So she said, I have spent so much time crafting beautiful emails that need to go out to my students to prep them for, whatever event I'm putting them in, like a local festival or competition or something, or the upcoming recitals that I do every year. So she said, now I have all in one place to go and find these beautiful emails that I've written up. And then all I have to do is plop in the new date for this year, and swap out whatever information is relevant. But it saves so much time because you're not sitting here recomposing emails every time. So that's another
Mm.
great example of information storage. Okay, now I'm going to show you a few other quick examples that might be more relevant to you, Daniel, or just
Okay.
other music professionals, other areas of life. So currently, I am employed as a church musician at a
Okay.
church locally here, and so this has been really handy for this whole other area of my life. Now, music professionals tend to wear many hats, so we have many
True.
areas of life. So this is where it's really nice to just have a place where you keep yourself kind of organized and keep things. So I'm going to click on this church music page here. I will show you the music hub page that I created for the church where I work. This page has been published. It's available publicly, which is a really
Okay.
cool feature of Notion. So most of my pages are private. Only I can see them when I'm logged in. But you can go up to the share settings and make pages public. And there's a few different
Wow.
settings. You can control the permissions, of course, if you want to share it with only one person when they're logged into their account, or if you want it to be public and anyone with a link can view it. So this one is public and it's on the church's website. So they can go to the music page on the church website and get to my music hub page. So this functions almost like a website page. And I can just put whatever information is relevant to the musical happenings at this church, right? At this organization. So I could have my own kind of like announcements. I have links. I'm also, one of my responsibilities is choosing the hymns that are sung each week. So
Hmm.
this is my database for planning that. So um, I can see the weeks in the calendar year for the church year and what season in the church year it is, and then whatever hymns that I've chosen. I'm going to go to past dates right now so you can see kind of in the past. Um,
Wow.
this is a little bit messy the way that this, I could use some more cleaning up with my columns and so on, but you can just kind of see my notes and what hymns I've selected for the different parts of the service. I can also keep track of my preludes and offertories, postludes. If we're having special music, I take notes about what the choir is going to sing or what a soloist is going to sing or play. Um, we have a tech team at the church who puts our services on Zoom, so I try to keep them in the loop about like what's happening, that they
Hmm.
might need to be aware of, so that they have the proper mics set up again for like if the choir is going to sing or whatever it is. So this is a great communication tool because every Sunday when they set up before the service, they can click on this and see what I've got planned, and I don't have to send emails. I don't have to go talk to them face to face and give reminders. But it's just a great communication tool because anyone related to the church can see what I've planned. It's all in here for anyone to see. And then at the bottom of this page is an area that's for the choir. Some of them like to practice on their own at home, which is great. I absolutely love that and encourage that. And so I provide practice tracks
Oh
for
my
them.
goodness. So you
So
can
you
embed
can,
those right in there.
yeah, these are embedded YouTube videos. There's links and there's embedded MP3 files. Some of these are MP3s I've gotten like when I purchased the music, and some of these are ones that I've recorded myself for them to practice with.
Mm.
Yeah, so this is just, so it's kind of functioning like a website almost, but it's in Notion for me, so I can easily drag things in and out and just set things up whatever I want them to be able to see. I also manage the choral library, so all the repertoire for the choir. It's a database, right? So I can manage that in here.
Wow.
Yeah. So
So it seems like with this program, well, no, you even said it earlier. And look, I'm not trying to sell people on Notion. I'm making connections in my head. Because you
yeah,
said earlier, oh, well, I don't need this, I don't need this, I don't need this, I don't need these programs because I can do it all in here. And so like I'm thinking of softwares that organize music like this, but what you're saying is that Notion is kind of this really versatile, easy to use program that kind of not obsoletes these other ones, but it makes it so that you can keep everything in one spot and you don't have to, use 18 different softwares. Yeah, I'm picking up
yeah.
on this. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think I said in the email to you, Daniel, something like I would estimate like maybe 80% of the time, like I've eliminated some of my use of Google Docs and Google Spreadsheets and having to go find
Interesting.
things here and over there and Evernote. And, now there are times where, of course, if I'm collaborating with someone else and we need to use something like Google Docs, let's just say, Google Docs can embed in Notion.
Mm.
I can have a link to that Google Doc so that when I go to work on whatever that is, then I've got a really handy link in my Notion so that I can quickly get there. So it still, to me, brings it in one place, even if certain things in my life still have to live in other programs or other places online. It still is a huge help to just kind of organize and bring things in one place. It's clean and beautiful, so I feel great doing my work. So that's the other big thing I love about Notion.
Does Notion have a way? So, like for instance, I will take an email from that has information in it, and I will forward it directly into Evernote, and Evernote creates it as a note, and then I can manipulate it and do whatever I want with it. Does Notion have something similar where like I could forward an email into Notion and it categorizes it or something like that, or makes it whatever Notion's version of a note is, like a page? I don't know.
Yeah, yep. There are web
Okay,
clippers available for Evernote.
interesting.
One thing I do miss from Evernote is I did really like their web clipper that like you could select for articles to be really
Yes.
cleaned up and they turn into a really
Yes.
beautiful note. That is one thing I really miss. But I feel like it's only a matter of time before someone's going to build
Yeah.
it. Or maybe maybe it is out there and I haven't found it yet. But there are a few different web clippers out there that people have built for Notion.
Wow.
And yeah,
Okay.
I think that there is an email address feature as well. I have not used it, but I think I've seen it in the settings as well.
Let me ask one more question here, and then, um, I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to share, but like I think already I've gotten a huge understanding of what this is and what it's capable of. Um, with Evernote, I have these folders that these notes live in, and some folders for me are just reference. If I need the data at some point in the future, it's there. And so I might have, I have a folder with 750 notes in it. Then some folders, which are more active, where I'm just dumping actions I need to do and then I delete as soon as the action's done, those typically have fewer. Does Notion have something similar where you kind of have a repository of notes? Like, I guess it would be pages inside Notion, but like, is there a place where you can scroll through and see all the notes that you have? I guess I don't know.
Yeah, the let me think about that question. So there's a very powerful search feature, first of all. So
Okay.
anytime you want to find something, you can definitely search for it. Um, this sidebar, Notion has changed this a little bit, but it used to be that all of your pages would show up kind of on the left here, and then the ones that are sub pages obviously would be like
Oh,
indented,
I see.
right? So you could browse everything. They've done some things to kind of clean this up, and you can customize your sidebar too. So now I feel like I'm not totally sure how to answer that question because they've changed it up. But yeah, you can favorite pages. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I've answered your question very well, but
No,
I
no,
mean,
no, no.
all the pages are there, and you can search for anything and
So
find things.
let's say on my dashboard I created an action folder and it had like
Okay.
what would be the equivalent of 11 notes in my action folder in Evernote, and I click on it. Would I have the ability to see those 11 things once I click through the dashboard? Do you see what I'm saying? So if it, on you have a to-do list there, like that would be my equivalent of my to-do list, right? So if I clicked into that, how like would I see the 11 actions I need to do that were associated with a note? Do you see what I'm saying?
I think so. So, I mean, the pages are just so customizable. So it really
Okay.
depends what you set up for yourself. You can just create like a
Oh, interesting.
checklist kind
Okay.
of thing,
Yes.
and there's a nice checkable box that you can use for a checklist. Like,
Oh,
and you
nice.
can check
Okay.
these off, and then you could just delete them when you don't want them anymore. Okay.
Okay.
So I mean, so it really depends how you want to set it up, or you can get fancy and you can use databases when you do it. So this one is a database. It's a Kanban board. And I just like drag these around. If I realize, oh, I'm going to actually do this on Tuesday rather than Wednesday, I can drag this little item
Oh.
around.
Okay.
And then I use this kind of like what you described. When I do these tasks, I just delete them because I don't really need these somewhere in Notion's, you know,
Yeah.
back end somewhere. So I just delete when I get these tasks done. So that's how I'm currently experimenting with like using this as a to do kind of a thing. Notion's website offers tons and tons of templates that you can download for free
Interesting.
and add into your Notion account. And there's ones that you can pay for as well. And I have seen ones that are built for the getting things done system. So you can totally
Interesting.
check that out and you can
Okay,
see
cool.
somebody who's set up like a database. I'm sure there's
Yeah.
multiple versions that people have made that follow the getting things done system. So you could
I'm
check that out
thinking,
if you
yeah, I'm
wanted.
thinking of specific people that I've worked with in the past who would, who are basically operating off of like, they have Notepad up and they write down like what they need to do this week, or, they're doing it on a post-it note, and they've had this idea of like, oh, I should, use something, but I don't know what. Like, I feel like this right here, like what you're describing, what you're showing, and it is beautiful. Like,
So just to kind of wrap up in my own mind, my thoughts for like how I could picture you
mm,
using Notion if you wanted to. So we already talked about the getting things done and that there are templates that you could check out if you wanted to. I mean, it sounds to me like you have a really great working system already in Evernote. So I could see maybe keeping Evernote because you've
Hmm.
got it working so great and you've got all your years of history with it for getting things done. But I could also see maybe you switch over like managing your client notes that you talked about. That could be something that would be
Yeah.
really beautifully done in Notion if you wanted to. And so you could set it up like a database. So you have all your clients' information, their contact info. You can have columns, right? Properties for each of that. And then I don't know if I showed this, but any entry in a database, when you click it, it opens up and it's its own page. So that's where you could put all your client notes.
Yes.
Each of those pages also within a database you can set up templates, so which is a really cool, more advanced feature. But like if you had a certain method for how you do keep your notes when you work with clients,
I
you
do.
can have like a template type page, that just like
Interesting.
automatically pops up, and has all the sections
Yeah.
that you want. Anyway, it's very cool. So that's one thing. um, I could picture you using Notion for working with your team, like with your staff. So if you wanted to create SOPs, standard operating
Yes.
procedures, Notion is perfect for that. And in fact, that was one of the first things it was built for, was for SOPs. So if you just wanted to write down like, here's how things done, and you can have it so organized, you can, handle all of the sharing permissions, really easily in Notion because it's set up for that. You can embed videos, right? Audio, anything that you want, you
Hmm.
can bring in. You can link out to Google Drive if certain things are, in a drive somewhere or in Dropbox or whatever it is. You can bring it all in one place and have these beautiful pages.
I'm going to jump in here and say that I
Mm-hmm.
could see a small school or even a large school or a small school that aspires to be a large school, like building their whole team system around this. Like
Absolutely.
I can picture that in my head. Like that dashboard thing that you have on the top there, like making that shareable or aspects of it shareable to certain members of the team, depending on what their access level needs to be. Like you could totally do that.
Absolutely. It's like you're building your own
Interesting.
software, but you don't have to know coding, right? That's what Notion talks about. Like that's part of their marketing. Is like
Mm.
it's like you're building your own custom software for your business. You just have to know the basic building blocks, like the basic Legos for using Notion.
But it's more powerful because what I currently recommend to clients is using Google Drive. But there are things about this that are preferable to Google Drive because you're still having to operate within a folder system inside Google Drive, whereas this is more visually driven. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
word. Yeah.
Yes.
Like actually, you know what I'm gonna say? I'm just gonna make this
Mhm.
call here at the end. This it's more likely you'd convert me from Google Drive to Notion than Evernote to Notion.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Interesting.
Yep.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it. That's so fascinating.
And
Okay.
there's some import features. So if you whether you're coming from Google Drive, Google Docs, spreadsheets,
Interesting.
Evernote. I think there's Asana. There's a whole list of other platforms that you can bring information into Notion. They've
Whoa.
built the ability to bring everything into Notion if you want. Um,
Interesting.
I think that the last thing on my list is that I think another thing that you could do for you, Daniel, is you could manage your podcast in
Yeah.
Notion. It would work beautifully. Like to have a database for with a entry for each episode, and again, you can share it with your team however you need, right? And then if you have a standard, like template or an outline that you use when you plan your podcast episodes, if you need to be able to have like links or embedded things, right? I mean, it works beautifully. I know Amy does her podcast planning in Evernote, or I'm sorry, in Notion.
Yeah.
Again, there are templates for that. If you go and look on Notion's website, you will find templates to get you like off and running.
Yeah. Because again, we have a series of separate documents that we're having to link between those. Whereas, yeah, I can see that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Anyway, that's my big plug, and
Yeah.
hopefully I've talked you into at least giving it a try.
Yeah, for sure. So you said the workshop is on 20th and 21st of September. Now, obviously, I've got, when I look on YouTube, I see stats of like people watching videos that I made, 5 years ago. So, like, if someone in the future were to hear this and it's past September of 2024, they could probably still go to the link that we're going to put in the description and find out how to like watch a recording of the workshop. Is that right?
So as of now, this is the second time Amy and I've offered this workshop, and we're not totally
Hmm.
sure how the future of this will go yet.
Okay.
As of now, so if you sign up for the workshop, you get the replay videos for, I think we said like 6 months or something like that. You have
Okay.
access to the replay videos. We don't currently have plans to just make replay videos themselves, like as a standalone
Okay.
available. I mean, maybe we could consider that. I guess we hadn't thought about that yet. But yeah, I mean, if you link up to either Amy's website or my website, we both have things on our website about Notion, and you could find current information. You know, hopefully we keep offering the workshop in the future. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So I'll
Amy's
tell
got
you what
podcast
then.
episodes, and
Yeah.
yeah.
At least on my YouTube channel, I'll put just a link to your website, and people should just go sign up on your website for your newsletter, and then they'll get all the Notion information they could ever want.
Yeah,
Love
thank
it.
you so much for putting the plug in the workshop.
Oh yeah, no, no problem. No problem at all.
This has been super fun. Thank you.
Cool.